Welcome to the Westport Library. Today's program will begin momentarily. Supported by Verso Studios, created locally and shared with the world.
Hello. Good evening, everybody. I am Johnny Temple. I am the publisher of Akashic Books, the publisher of this forthcoming book. And I am also a musician. I play bass guitar in the bands Girls Against Boys, Soulside, Fake Names. And I am honored to be here. I really appreciate the invitation from Alex Giannini here at the Westport Library and the support of Travis and everybody else at this fantastic library. Last time I was here, I was on the stage with Chuck D from Public Enemy, which was a great program, and I'm really happy to be back. I am joined, we have as you may know, this will be a two-part program. The first part will be a discussion about the artwork of Rick Fröberg. I expect that to be about 30 to 40 minutes, and if there's, we'll leave time if there's any questions from the audience. And then we'll take a short break, and after that, we will be joined by two other musicians to play a small selection of 6 songs, either by one of Rick's bands or sort of in the spirit of one of Rick's bands. I'm joined right now for this first part by Sohrab Habibion, fellow DC musician, and Ted Leo. Please give them a round of applause. So most of you are probably familiar with Rick Fröberg. Phenomenal musician, played in bands Pitchfork, Drive Like Jehu, Hot Snakes, Obits. Many people around the world are very familiar with his phenomenal music. And some people are familiar with his art, but many people aren't. And when Rick died in 2023, a group of his close friends decided to endeavor to put together a book of his artwork, and they approached me to see if I would be interested in publishing it, which of course I was. I knew Rick. Sohrab played in the band Obits with Rick, and Ted was also a friend of Rick's. I probably, of everybody tonight, I probably knew Rick least well, but I knew him pretty well. And so I jumped at the opportunity to be the publisher of this book. I knew a little bit about Rick's art, but I had no idea the breadth of his artwork. And one of the people I was approached by was my good friend Sohrab, who then who then basically, in conjunction with a few other people, including our dear friend Rich Jacobs, who has just passed away in the past couple of weeks. But Sohrab was sort of the main mastermind behind this book. And so, to start this discussion, Sohrab, I want to just ask you to tell us a little bit about the process of, for those of you who have not yet seen the book, you will be amazed at how incredibly prolific Rick was with his visual art. And so, Sohrab, can you tell us a little bit about how you went about curating this book and the process that took?
So Rich Jacobs, who was the other person that I mainly work with, Rich was technically the art director of the book, and he and I basically tried to find as much of Rick's stuff as we could. And so part of that was sourcing it from other people. Part of it was going through his old notebooks and figuring out how much stuff there was, because we really didn't have an idea of just how much stuff he had produced. And it turned out there was actually quite a lot, like kind of shockingly a lot of work. And so then figuring out how to put that together so that it made sense in kind of sections in terms of either first we were trying to figure out like do we organize it by medium? Do we organize it by like a time frame? And it just seemed like we felt we wanted to show Rick's work for the breadth of it. And so it seemed like just showing it by medium was an interesting way of being able to create little segments that people could see just what a remarkable draftsman he was. So my familiarity with Rick's artwork was, I went to an art show of his, not knowing that he was the guy who was in these other bands, but a friend of mine took me. He's like, oh, I've got a friend who's got an art show, so I think you would like. And we went, and this was not long after I had first moved to New York City, and I could barely scrape 2 dimes together, but I saw his artwork, and I was just so blown away that I was like, I have to have this painting. And so I met Rick, and we worked out a deal where I think he sold it to me for $300, but I paid him in installments. And I just never seen somebody who could do that kind of painting along with etchings that seemed like something Goya could have done. And, you know, the kind of casual ink drawings that you'd see like Raymond Pettibon or something like that. And it was such an incredibly evocative body of work. And when Rich and I were trying to sort through this stuff, we were both surprised at just how much of it there was. And so we decided that sorting it by pencil, pen, ink, gouache, painting, and towards the end of his life, he got into watercolor. That was the thing about Rick, was that he was just a really curious artist. And so if you would come across something new, he wanted to check it out. So he blew glass. So Rich, who put the book together, actually had a glass that Rick had blown. And I don't know if any of you have familiarity with glass blowing, but it's not easy. And so to just see like him, he would dedicate himself. He was basically a student his entire life. He was a student of art. He was a student of music. And so I realized that, you know, I knew him as a friend, but to then go through his work as an artist was a really remarkable and humbling experience to see just how involved he was. Nothing was casual, even though he has a casual air about him. He was almost like a scientist. He would study how things were done, take them apart, figure out how to do it again. And I think I've gone beyond the answer.
No, that was great. And how much of the artwork in the book was in people's private collections?
I would say a third to a quarter of it were things, mainly prints or ink drawings or paintings. And he would do commissions. So we had friends who, like this guy Henry Owings in Atlanta, who did a magazine called Chunklet, if any of you are familiar with it. He was a big fan of Rick's artwork, and so at 2 different times when he had a little bit of cash, he approached Rick and just said, you know, if I give you a couple $100, like, please just send me something. And expecting something small, and Rick sent him back these incredibly intricate, beautiful gouache pieces. And so just getting things from people like Henry and other people that we knew. But his stuff, you know, he wasn't in museums. He didn't have that many gallery shows. I mean, I think most people know his art from the records that he worked on and the kind of the rock and roll affiliation. And it was just really tremendous to see his notebooks and to see just what an incredible, just to see how much he studied and how much he would sort of replicate. And also, Rick had a tremendous sense of humor, so I'm not sure, do we get some slides or?
We can get a slide going here.
Yeah, so, all right, so that's the painting that I first saw when I met him, and that is hanging in my living room. And I saw that, and I just thought, like, holy shit, like, who makes paintings like this? You know, like, I literally had never seen anything like it. So, again, the humor factor, Canadian Mounties, I'm not really sure. Like, he found the humor in this really random, esoteric things. And so, but then just look at the horses, just the amount of detail that you can see in the horses is just but then he's got this rough-hewn one, and then these incredibly detailed where like he's really getting into the coat of the horse, and just it's just kind of, and then of course like this sort of fake chess piece. It's just it's tremendous. And Volker Bruder, like he loved playing with language and with shapes, and I guess it's not in this painting, but there's a couple of his paintings he does FFF, which was his sort of funny nod to DC hardcore, which was always the 3 X's. So his FFF was like Fröberg. But he just, to have somebody who could do this kind of tremendous painting and to have a sense of humor, but it's also beautiful. And so then if we could see the next slide. So that etching, I mean, again, he was also fascinated with animals. So one of the things when I got I got his old hard drive that I went through to try to find artwork, and there were folders. There was one, animals doing stupid shit. And it was just photographs from the internet of animals doing really ridiculous stuff. And so, I mean, just to see the rendering of the horses, and but then you also have these weird loose characters in the background that are kind of roughly rendered and kind of spooky, but it's just in the monkey riding the horse. I mean, he really, like, he just had a way of finding these vignettes that were incredibly kind of jarring and would draw you in. And the more you look at it, the more little details there are, and you realize like the amount of time that you spend on all these things, which again, so in the book, which is, it's 256 pages, there's like 400 and something images in there. There was easily 3 to 4 times that much work that we distilled to put in the book. And it's just remarkable what he was able to do in a relatively short period of time in his life. I mean, probably in 30 years of making art, let's say, he was able, it was like a, I mean, I think as a student of art, he really was able to study and distill all these different styles and then find ways of making it his own. That was the thing, like when I first saw that art show, there were elements of Goya, there was elements of Pettibon, there was elements of various people, but he had his own way of distilling those things. And I think musically as well, and you can hear it in his different bands where, he was clearly excited about certain things, whether it was Squirrel Bait, whether it was Sonic Youth, whether it was the Animals. Like, you could hear it find its way in his music, but it was still, he just had a singular voice. And so that was a great thing to be able to try to assemble.
Great. So, Ted, do you remember first meeting Rick, and how close were you guys?
Right, well, I'm not sure I remember the first time I met Rick. I remember getting the Pitchfork record when it came out in 89, 90, something like that. Musically, it felt like such a leap forward from the scene that we all had come from. It was so mysterious artwork, no band photos, I didn't really know anything about them other than that we obviously had like a shared set of references. But as you were just saying, Sohrab, like it felt like a real bolt of lightning and kind of a real singular record. It was years after that I would have finally met Rick, and he's one of those people who I didn't see a lot, but I'm sure you both have this experience where you run into other musicians, like you have these profound conversations one night at a festival in Belgium or something, and then like you don't see them for 11 months or whatever, but then you cross paths in Brooklyn and you have a similar interaction. And I think it was so my band, when I began playing in my band, the Pharmacists, we toured with the Obits and would play shows with the Hot Snakes and things, and got to know him much better in those kind of early aughts and times. And then there was a period when we were both living in Brooklyn at the same time, and I would see him a lot more. all through that time, I also had no idea of the breadth of the artwork that he was making. My wife almost died from an autoimmune disease. When she recovered, he sent us one of these etchings, you know, and that kind of like brought us a little closer together as well. And also just illustrated, you know, like, again, you kind of careen around your life bouncing off people, but you know when you have like a real connection with somebody. And I'll be honest with you, it wasn't, I mean, I don't want to get too emo about this, but like it wasn't until the memorial that was at this venue called Union Pool in New York, where in the outdoor section, entire walls were covered with a collage of Rick's stuff, that I truly understood just how much time and how much time he spent on all this and how beautiful it was. And something that you said, Sohrab, I was already thinking about in this conversation about him being a perpetual student of these things, and how you can also see that through his music. And the amazing thing about Rick is that for a pretty kind and humble guy, he also obviously was one of those people who like has mastery of something kind of the second he sets his mind to it. So through all of these phases of his bands, you know, any one of us could be pulling from the same influences, but he elevates it somehow. And it was when I finally saw that like 3-wall panel collage, which I'm sure is probably not the collage itself, but an experience probably would be similar to reading the book, that I really understood how important all of his visual work was to him, because that's something we never really got a chance to talk about. So.
For both of you, do you see a through line between the visual art and the music? And I'm not saying that there is one or that there should be one. I'm just wondering if there's, because on the surface they seem very different, you know, but we're diving below the surface here.
You know, I will say that another thing that I recognized in seeing that big collage was how political a lot of his visual art was, and I hadn't put pieces like this or a lot of his other work in that context in my brain. I think it also manifests in his music and his lyrics, where it's poetic and subtle. Sometimes it's aggressive lyrically, but it's usually pretty subtle what he's getting at. But if you sit with it, you actually kind of see what he's getting at. And there's something about how many horses he works with, that something about this is getting, forgive me if this is a little woo or off topic, but like something about horses and donkeys, maybe even more so, like their eyes are very unlike any other eyes in the animal kingdom. Like they convey some, or at least we project onto them that they convey some kind of depth and knowledge and calmness, and I do feel like there's a through line in particular with how often that shows up in his art, and how often amid all of the chaos and noise that is organized in his songs, these if you can stare at them long enough, something else comes through, some other like deeper soul comes through.
That's interesting. Rick, of course, had very expressive eyes himself. Let's take a look at a couple more slides. And Sohrab?
So I love this one. So you have this couple, each on their own horse, and then you have the troubadour on his horse with the headless mic, like the wireless mic. I mean, it's really just tremendous. First of all, just like the level of detail, and then like the yin and the yang casually thrown into this sort of section in the middle here. But there's the gulf between the troubadour and the couple, who clearly are unaware of his presence. But then the look on the horse's eyes, the middle horse, the gentleman's horse, versus the look on the eyes of the horse of the woman. And I mean, it's just like, there's so many characters in this really small drawing, and there's just so much going on, and just, again, the perspective of it. As a viewer, you're sort of looking, you're a voyeur into this romantic scene with this absurd character in the background. And I think he managed to have that both in his lyrics and in his art, where there was something really tender and sort of very sincere about something that may be in the foreground, but there was always the critical element as well, and an absurdist element. And that's something I really love about, again, his lyrics and his art, is that he found a way to transmit a present tense as well as a third person component.
All right, next slide, please.
Okay, this one I just included because it's funny. So he had a series of oil paintings that he did that he would audit classes sometimes just to learn a little bit more about a medium or something. And so he had a series of oil paintings that he did, and he graded himself. So there's not much to this, but the fact that he gave himself a C+, I thought was pretty good. You can go to the next slide.
And I mean, and of course, that one, we can leave it on this new slide, but you're already getting to see the incredible breadth of styles. I mean, this one and the previous two look nothing alike. The first few we looked at all had the sort of horses and the animals, but these last three that we've looked at really, it's utterly remarkable. I wonder if any of these were commissioned.
This one ended up as an Obits poster, but he got really obsessed with the Shahada, which is the sort of the Muslim presentation of faith, basically saying I believe in Islam. But he loved the shape of the writing, and so there's a bunch of his work that has this Shahada in it. And
is that his interpretation of it, or is that?
It is his interpretation, but if you look at it versus Arabic calligraphy, it is spot on. Okay. But there's other things that he did, like he did a T-shirt design for the Casbah, which is a venue in San Diego, where he played around with Arabic-looking characters. It reads nonsense, but he found shapes that he liked, and he did that a lot. There's a band, Mets, from Toronto, and he did some posters for them where he used these very abstract shapes, and you actually can find those shapes in a series of his works, and they're just weird transformations of letters. And so he would abstract them to the point where there was no actual letter there anymore, but if you had seen earlier iterations of it, it was clearly, it started out as an E or an M or something. And so with this, he was actually remarkably true to the calligraphy, but he loved the shapes. And again, the perspective on this image is just insane. Like you're looking through this space, through into water, there's a boat, there's a dark figure there, maybe getting into the canoe or getting out of the canoe, and often, off the river travels. I mean, it really is like he would just create these magical landscapes that I know he had references for a lot of his work, and so when I went through his hard drive, I found folders, animals aside, like other stuff that he was, he just kept on hand, like motorcycles, landscapes, different things that he just wanted to have to be able to look at to get a sense of something. But he would tweak them all, and so you'd have like 5 different things that you could find, I bet, like on that hard drive, like 5 different photographs that show elements of what's in this image. Not exactly like it, but he would just use them as like little points of inspiration and kind of like, carve out these spaces that were his own, which I thought was a really incredible thing to do.
So I want to look at one more image. Are there any must-see images, or is it?
This one, just to see his skill level with a pencil. I mean, it is just his ability to shade, to create the sculptural elements of a face. I mean, it's truly like master level, and it's just a guy with a pencil. And so it is just, to me, remarkable that the person who made that also made these crazy punk record covers as well. But that's who he was.
So we'll talk, I want to talk just a little bit more and then see if we have any questions from the audience. Rick was a pretty big drinker. Something that anyone who knew him kind of knew this about him. Lots of musicians are drinkers and drug addicts. This question that I've been sort of asking people is, because so many people are surprised at how much art he produced. And so the question is when did he have the time to do this? And my mind goes like to the nighttime. And this is all, for me, this is all completely speculative. I have no idea. But it seems to me that either my hunch, what I feel, I could be wrong, but my feeling is that it was either, early morning work or late night work. And he didn't strike me as an early morning guy. And so if he was creating artwork late at night, perhaps he was sometimes, often, always, who knows, inebriated while doing so. And yet, his artwork, to me, does not look drunk. And so we're getting into gossip here. But I'm kind of curious to hear from both of you your own speculations. And I would also like to say that I feel like drink and drugs, et cetera, is often sort of a taboo topic, but yet it's very much real life. X percentage of our world, drinks or does drugs, gets high, whatever. And I can't remember the name of the great comedian who was like, you're anti-drugs? Well, throw all those records, take all those Beatles albums and throw them in the trash. And I'm personally fascinated with both the role, I'm an atheist, but the role that religion and spirituality plays with art, and as well as the role that drugs and alcohol play with artistic creation. And I don't think it should be overly taboo to discuss because this is real. We as musicians, so many of us do drink or get high or whatever. So I want to hear your speculations on this.
So I have been with Rick when he has been in kind of a dark place with it, and it's always been on tour. It hasn't been around town or anything, but I think again, without speculating too much, he certainly had his demons, as do many of us, and I've seen him some kind of rage come up and result in physically damaging a room, stuff like that. I have a hard time believing that the precision of some of this stuff could be done while those things were foremost in his brain, or while he was in that kind of a space. I mean, it could be the case that this is middle of the afternoon art,
Would that be your guess?
Yeah, I would. That would be my guess. Yes, that between 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. probably a lot of this work got done.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think this is a fascinating question, and also just the question is if you were wrong, can the artist be fucked up and the art be sober? Because his art to me is a lot of it is sober, and even the playfulness of it and the precision, and perhaps we're talking the mid-afternoon, and so that, you know, he wasn't, you know, fucked up while making.
I think that musically we're all familiar with, you know, I'm like, personally for me, like, I'm not, it just doesn't work for me to perform like too inebriated, you know. But I think we're all familiar with people who do actually access some kind of like transcendence for themselves, and, you know, a lot of his music sort of lent itself to going a little off script and channeling things that, you know, without romanticizing it too much, you know, that were unlocked, you know, when he was, let's say, looser, you know. But yeah, I'm not sure that I would, and again, like, we're all just speculating, but I'm not sure that I would have a hard time applying that to so much of his visual work.
Yep. How about you, Sohrab?
Honestly, seeing all of his work, seeing how much he made, and knowing how many nights after practice I would go out with him and we'd have another couple drinks and stuff, it was shocking to me to imagine when he was actually making this work, because there was so much of it, and I don't know how you could do that after the number of drinks that we had, and yet it was being done. So I don't know, maybe Ted's right, maybe it was 11 to 6.
I mean, that would sort of make conceptual sense when you look at the artwork.
But also I know that there were many nights where he'd come home at some late hour and just work deep into the next day and then go to sleep at 11.
Right.
And forget to eat, and you know. So I don't. I'm not really sure. But the work is, the amount of detail. That's the part. I mean, you know, assuming that most people in this room know the experience of being out of sorts, it's hard to conjure the amount of detail that he was able to put together in a physical state like that. So I don't really know.
Yeah. All right. Let's see if there's any questions from the audience. And I think that there's a microphone over there, which if you do have a question, we're going to punish you and make you stand over there. Someone's got to be brave.
I don't want to stand up. I'm a teacher, so
Yes, it very specifically was the Shahada, which is the it's basically, if you're a Muslim, it's your proclamation of your faith.
But I've seen other stuff where he had been in the past, and I always wonder, like, just using it as a element of a painting, or did he become fluent in?
No. He was not fluent. It was something that he referenced and borrowed because he really liked it. He liked the way it looked. And I think that he was curious about the idea of devotion, because it's something that he himself did not possess. He was not a religious person, but the idea of devotion was something that he and I talked about a lot, whether it was marriage, religion, whatever. But I think that it was the beauty of the shapes that I think really drew. He loved beautiful things, and so he was often drawn, whether it's the shape of the letters of the Shahada, whether it was the shape of an animal. He loved the beauty of the natural world and the world that humans created, despite the darkness, which is always in somewhere in one of his paintings, whether it's the dark figure or whatever. You know.
Yeah. I mean, devotional art of all kinds is like, it really points, you know, often toward transcendence, and, you know, that collection of shapes itself, you know, speaks to something certainly beyond like an average white guy's, you know, like experiences. And I can imagine wanting to, again, like look through that to find something in the devotional aspect of it.
Yeah.
All right. Any other questions? You look like you're raising your hand.
Is this because he's no longer alive?
definitely knew about the drinking. Definitely knew about the drinking. But, you know, it's funny, and I think this maybe speaks to just our relationships in general, which is that I think a lot of times we don't really ask the things of one another that maybe we should, because the assumption is that we'll have another conversation later. Maybe it'll come up then. And now that Rick is gone, I have a long list of questions. And some of them are about music, some of them are about art. But I think that there are a lot of questions. And not that he was enigmatic or some mysterious or anything like that. But I didn't expect for him to die. And so I didn't expect to not have a chance to ask many of the questions on my list, nor would I have necessarily compiled them were he still alive, because, you know, I'll talk to him later.
I got accused earlier today of being both vague and a really good compartmentalizer. And
Sounds like that happened in the household.
it wasn't in the household, but you know, I wonder if you know, Rick was similar in that aspect, because, you know, he didn't go around saying like, hey, look at this thing that I just made. This is what I've been thinking about. You know, here's what I'm working on for the next project I got hired for, poster-wise, or here's what I am thinking about for the, you know, a record that we might make in 6 months or something. You know, it's that kind of, unfortunately, like, sad lesson of humanity that sometimes it's like it's on us to draw that stuff out, you know.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Oh, sure, go for it.
I think, first of all, I think he would laugh at the fact that this is happening. I think he would find this whole thing really ridiculous. I think he would be flattered, but he would also find it totally ridiculous. I was very sensitive about going through his notebook, because I definitely saw some stuff that I thought he did not want anybody to see this. This is his personal notebook. And so I made sure that anything that was included in the book from his notebook was there for a purpose. It transmitted something about his artwork, his view of the world, that was greater than just something specifically personal to him, because I didn't think that would not be fair, I don't think, to him. And not that he could admonish me for it, but I was aware of the feeling of being admonished that I'd done something like that.
I think it's probably safe to say there's definitely things in the book that if Rick had made the book that would definitely be different. There's no way that that's not true. And, you know, it's for the people, for Sohrab and the few other people who made this book, you know, they did it out of love, and there's a freedom to Rick not being there to complicate matters. I hope that doesn't sound heartless. It's not meant to sound heartless, but I think he would laugh, and then he also would get super annoyed about page 36 and page 97, right? Or don't you?
Yes, absolutely. But also, when Rich Jacobs and I were putting the book together, we weren't sure about what size it should be, and so we actually spent a day walking around to all the art bookstores in the East Village, looking at books and trying to think like what would be the most appropriate. And then about a week later, I was going through some other stuff on the hard drive, and I found there was a folder for, at the height of the pandemic, he actually assembled a book that he was going to self-publish, and there was a folder with everything in it, including the size of the book that he wanted. And I thought, there it is. That's the size it should be. That's the one that he wanted. And so that last chapter has that book fully reproduced, as well as the watercolors, which were the last kind of medium that he was exploring before he died.
All right, I think we've run out of time for the talking part of this evening. And so We are going to take a 5 to 10 minute break to clear these chairs off and get ready to play some really good music. And I should say that the book is for sale for those of you who don't have it and are interested in buying a copy. The beautiful book is for sale over there. Thank you all for coming here. And we will be joined on stage in 5 to 10 minutes by Trokan and Mikey Post from the band The Javons and other great bands that they've played in. And so we'll be back momentarily.
And also the Javons were a band that Rick loved, which is one of the, I'm really grateful that Mikey and Benny were able to join us for this, because he did artwork for their band, so it's important that they're a part of making this music as well.
All right, see you in just a few minutes.
do. Yeah. This is a cover song that the Obits used to do. It's called Military Madness.
So one quick thing about this song. It's on the first Graham Nash record, and when I heard it, I actually really wanted to hear Ted sing this song. So I emailed Ted this song. I was like, hey man, I think it'd be really great if you played this. Ted was busy with some other stuff, never heard back from him. And so I told Rick, I was like, man, fucking Ted never responded to my email. He's like, well, we should do it. So.
In an upstairs room in Blackpool, by the side of a northern sea, the army had my father, while my mother was having me. Military madness is killing my country. So much sadness comes over. And after school was over, I went to the other side. Although I left my country, I never forgot my pride. Military madness is killing my country. So much sadness comes over. And now all the wars are over, and the body count is finally filed. I hope the man discovers what's driving the people wild. Military madness is killing my country. So much sadness comes over me.
This one's an Obits song. It's called Back and Forth. Nobody knows where you go after school. All the cruel things you do with friends. How can you keep this sorrow to yourself? You think I think that you cry yourself to sleep.
true. 'Cause I know you. You say this atmosphere is poisoning your health. Well, that's not my concern anymore. No! She goes back and forth. She goes back and forth. She goes back. She goes back and forth. She goes back and forth. She goes back and forth. She goes back. She goes back and forth. All right.
Can't believe you call me out in front of a live audience.
I mean, you were right there.
Which one we doing?
Alien Boy?
Yeah.
Which one?
Alien Boy?
Oh, right. I do wonder what I was doing that I didn't respond to that email.
I'm sure it was the wrong one.
no rats at all. It just feeds off the sun. Going right away, there's no other way, 'cause you're an alien. They have what they don't understand.
This is a song off the Pitchfork, Rick's band that existed before the website called Pitchfork. It's called Thin Ice. Six Wave? This is a Hot Snake song called Six Wave Hold Down.
This is it, right? This is the last.
Yeah. This is Drive Like Jehu's song, of course. Yeah,
Well, let's see if I'm on your concrete slab.
Thanks, everybody.
Meet you all over at the Spotted Horse.